Welcome to Bench, an informal discussion with modelers and others in the hobby industry from their bench, featuring the hosts of the Scale Model Podcast, Anthony Goodman and Stuart Clark.
Okay, welcome to episode 2 of Bench to Bench from the Scale Model Podcast, a new series we're exploring right now to just chat with fellow modelers and people that we know, people that we want to know about, and today I'm very lucky to have with me Mike Baskette, who is co-host of Plastic Model Mojo, another burgeoning awesome scale model podcast kind of thing, all things plastic model making. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Anthony. I can't complain today.
Excellent. Yeah. You're healthy. The family's good. You're just hanging out. Can't complain. Yes, exactly. Right on. So we're we like to have a conversation that's kind of on the light side. We want to talk shop. We want to talk models. So, and tools, right? I mean, me and Stuart, Stuart and I, we love our tool gabbing.
So do
and
I think that's kind of a common trait.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's start out with a history of paint with Mike Baskette. What did you start out with? Yeah, what did you start using? And how did that kind of evolve?
How far back do you want to go?
Oh, to the beginning of time.
Beginning of time was the little square bottles of Testors paint.
Meet the glass ones?
Yeah, from the department store. Yeah, the 5 and dime store. The little glass ones, and then found the hobby shop in town. I got a little older, and I went to, I don't know if you remember Pactra.
I've heard of Pactra, but I don't remember seeing that as a kid. That doesn't mean it wasn't there, but I do remember the Testors.
Pactra had a line called Authentic International Colors, and they were in these little same size bottle as the Testors.
Okay.
Plastic, and they had a brown lid, and it was all the colors were specific to nations and aircraft.
Okay.
Camouflage schemes, specific periods in history, and it's kind of the first line that kind of went down that path. But the paint, in my opinion, wasn't that great.
Yeah.
After I got more serious, I got more. I was an early adopter of Tamiya paint.
Really?
Yeah, back in the 80s when it first started hitting
really?
hobby shops. Yeah, I've been using it a long time.
Okay. That's awesome.
I throw in some, the Testors Model Masters line and Humbrol and all the other classic paint lines. I've used just about all the mainstream mass market kind of hobby paints over the years.
Yeah. And where are you now? What's your go-to line?
Go-to for pretty much all my airbrushing right now is Tamiya paint. Still.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And for brush painting, I've got a pretty extensive assortment of Vallejo.
People are saying that. I don't have any Vallejo paints. I have a couple of their just look there on the shelf. I have a couple of like the pigments of that brand, which seem great. They seem pigmenty and they seem fine. And I have, I have like a putty that I don't really enjoy. It's not been working very well for me. And, but that's interesting. Now I remember starting out with those, the Testors ones and, not understanding about the sheen. And, and even further back, my dad, who is a big, HO model railroader and still is, he had the tins, the Humbrol tins, where you had to pry out. They had the colored little metal dish.
I have a lot of those.
Yeah. So he had a bunch of those, and they were like he seemed to like those, and boy, they stunk, right? So they're probably like a really well-made paint.
Good paint, yeah.
And then Model Masters I could get, and I had a couple. I would have been just a kid, maybe the late 80s, and they blew my mind because they came out flat, and I was just like, oh, these paints are the greatest, right? Not knowing that you could choose a gloss or flat. You should read the info. Well, it was just a very early stages, if you will. I remember getting some of the Tamiya bottles in the, I'm going to say mid 90s, but this is pre-airbrush, really not knowing much about anything. But I think I still have the 23 mil bottle of the German gray, which is just that there's a dribble left in there. What a great color that is.
Very useful. Those don't brush all that well, though. You said before airbrushing, but the Tamiyas, unless you use they have a retarder now that really helps.
I have that, and that's amazing. But that's something I got in the last couple years, right?
Yeah, brushing the stuff without the retarder is like,
oh yeah, it's brutal.
Good way to gum up the first layer you painted, right?
Yeah, it's exercise in frustration, right? But
the Humbrals, I did a favor for. Well, it was for. We have a small aviation museum at the airport here in Lexington. Oh, yeah. And I did a favor for them, and one of the volunteers out there was a modeler here in Lexington, and also a member of the Louisville club. We were both mutual members of that club. Mm-hmm. And he used to work part-time at the hobby shop that was in Lexington at the time, the independent one. Mm-hmm. And they went out of business, and he got all their Humbrol paint they still had. So he gave me this. I have like 200 tins.
Wow. That's amazing. Wow.
And I crack them open, and they're still good. I mean, they're from the Authentic Colors line, so they're from the
60s.
No, not that old, but they're from the 80s, 70s, and 80s probably. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. I have a similar collection of the Mr. Hobby Aqueous that I got about 15 years ago, let's say 15 years ago, and they're like, some of them aren't great, but it was like a hobby shop clear out, and somebody got a rack, and then I inherited, or I bought like a whole, just a crap ton of the Aqueous and the Mr. Color Aqueous, and a crap ton of Model Master, like the black tin, the round plastic bottles. But you know what? They weren't working for me. They weren't airbrushing well, but they did have a really amazing catalog of colors, right?
Yes.
But I ended up so in the past 10 years, where I was really ramping up and acquiring skills and doing some projects and stuff like that, I moved to Tamiya, which is what I could get here in London. And it did work so well. The guys at the model club were using it, so it was a thing to do, kind of. And I ended up taking the Model Masters. I think I put about 100 jars in a box, and I put $50 or best offer on the box when I was at a show vending, and somebody gave me $30 for it, and I just took the money and ran. I know, because some of them were new, some of them were half empty. Yeah, they weren't working, and I was getting frustrated, right? And
I do that at model shows with stash that's gotten replaced by better kits, or I just
unload
looking at them. I don't try to get much of my money back, because I take them to a show and I put something stupid on it, and it all just goes away.
Yeah, that's the gift that keeps on giving, right? So yeah, that's awesome. So I'm really digging Mr. Color right now. And we were discussing that. We were having a podcasters chat with the guys from On the Bench and with Stuart, and we were talking about Mr. Color, and I'm loving Mr. Color right now. It's just working out so well for me.
I noticed earlier in the week that I can't tell if it's because the bottles are labeled a little differently, but it's the Mr. Color paint.
Yes.
But I don't know if Gunzi is marketing it under a different. Yeah, it's not that bottle. Okay. But they're these color modulation sets. They have 4 shades of the same color in them.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it's newish.
Yeah. They have sets of those. I have I have a NATO color, NATO camouflage color set from Mr. Color, but they've changed the bottles up, and they do a Luftwaffe and an RAF, and they do all kinds of stuff.
These sets are for the German tan. That's all that's in the set is 4 different shades.
Yes, I know what you mean. I have that. I was lucky enough to get my hands on a catalog that's probably maybe 2 years old. So it's more or less up to date as far as I know, and it has those sets where you get I'll grab it right now, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's an interesting concept, right?
Yeah.
But instead of buying a modulation set, I've just been doing it by mixing colors.
Right.
Which I find.
Yeah.
I can see why.
Work, right?
Yeah, but I can see why people would think, okay, this is a pain in the ass. It's too difficult.
Bam.
Yeah, it's ready to go. I like that idea. I'm into that, but I've actually really enjoyed kind of trying to learn about colors a little bit, trying to figure it out, and I seem to be getting good results. So it's kind of it's an interesting exercise. Let me grab my cowl. I'll be right back.
Sure.
It's right here. Okay. So I'm thumbing through. Oh yeah, color modulation set. So they have olive drab, dark yellow, which looks like DAC.
Yes.
German gray, and Russian green. And they even got, and the one I'm looking at, it kind of even gives you it lays out the steps. If you can see, it's sort of an ad.
Yes.
Where
that's it.
Yellow. Yeah. I mean, I would try that, right? Give that a shot.
I'm probably gonna pick one up because I hear good things about that paint. I've never used it.
Oh, it's good. It's so good. So, I mean, see, each color has a different code. So I don't know if you can't just pick them out of the regular Mr. Color line.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't see the same color codes. C40. But
I saw USA Gundam store has had them in stock.
Yeah.
But they're kind of all
why not
restocked at the moment. I'll probably give that a whirl one of these days.
So it gives you so you get a base color, a highlight number 1, a highlight number 2, and then a shadow. Obviously going kind of to the darker side, right? But I figure any tool or any system that helps you kind of get through your project faster is worthwhile to take a look at, right? Because this thing's these projects just take a long time, right? I can see why people get burnt out on things and they start something new, right? And isn't that the thing? I got the NATO color set I bought is just a little box. It's on my paint shelf, and I think you can get each of those. It's three. It's the green, the brown, and the black, and I think you can get them as separate tins or cans or bottles rather, right up the line. So, but I just thought it was kind of cool, and I think I had something NATO in my hand at the time. I thought, oh yeah, I'll grab that. So yeah. So let's talk about. Obviously, we're all on kind of a shutdown, stay at home kind of situation. How has that impacted your model building? Mojo, are you getting more done? Are you getting less done?
I'm getting more done.
Okay, that's for sure. That's a plus.
Yeah. I'm making a lot of progress on the ones I'm working on, and I'm doing a lot of research for something new. But there's always the kids are still getting school lessons online.
Yeah, same here.
I've got one that is self-motivated and one that's not so much.
Yes, there's definitely challenges there. You're not a new respect for the teachers, especially of the younger ages. In my wife and I certainly. I mean, I've always knew it was a tough job. Boy, I think there's a little bit more challenge too because it's your own kid, and you're their own parent, and it's not the same as listening to the teacher. And there's none of that class conformity.
Right, that's exactly it. Exactly right. But back to modeling and how it relates to that, I've got to. If I get up early and get going, I can get a lot done, and then I have to. There's certain things that in my head, I think not related to modeling that I kind of need to get done around here.
Yep.
Before I commit to my time down here in the basement.
Absolutely. Yep. Cleaning and chores and all that regular stuff, right? Has to get taken care of. Right on. Are you guys doing more for the podcast, or the same amount, or less? Because you guys got sort of going like 6 months ago.
No, we started in January.
Okay,
so we recorded a few right before Christmas.
Okay.
And kind of stacked them up, and then January 1st, I think we kind of hit the ground running.
Okay.
So we're on. We've kind of fallen into a 2-week cadence, like you and on the bench on their normal cycle.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to stick with that for a while. We're kind of kicking around some small video things we might try as well, but there's plenty of content. I don't think it's gonna be tough for Dave and I to do a weekly right now.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how fast the week comes.
Oh yeah, exactly.
When you have to do something like I don't want to say it's work related, but it's sort of a project that has obligations, right? Like the days are going by really slow for me right now in a way. But then I was like, oh man, I got like 5 interviews to get ready for, and it's like Stuart is I just kind of do some stuff, and then Stuart is the real he's the prime mover. So he comes a knocking saying, we got to get our episode done. I'm like, is it that time already? And then we book a time.
We try to record on Sunday evening, kind of late, 9:30, 9 o'clock, because usually
it's
quieter. It's getting quiet around my place by then, and it's quiet at his house for sure. But it's this weekend. I owe him an outline.
Yeah.
I've got an outline I sent him that's got the major bullet points for the show topics. There's some we do every month or every episode, and some we don't.
Yeah.
And I'll send him the outline, and we'll pick a special segment topic.
Mm-hmm.
And usually by the time I'm done, my outline it'll fit on standard 8.5 by 11 or A4 sheet.
Yep.
Word, MS Word. By the time I'm done with it, it'll be 3 pages long.
So you just plant the seeds, and then David kind of hoes the ground.
He's doing the same thing. No, that'll be my notes.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I had it backwards.
I'll put the critical parts of like listener mail, their name and where they're from and the stuff you don't want to mess up.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. You still get it wrong every now and then, but and Dave's doing the same thing for the segments he's launching during the episode, and on the special topic, he'll give that a lot of thought too. And make sure he talks about the aspects he wants to talk about, and it helps to not do it all on the fly.
Oh no, yeah. Certain things are good on the fly, but it sounds like it's on the fly. You got to be prepared and and it really shows. And you guys are really in depth with your discussions, and they're really interesting. And I think that's what holds modelers' attention. That's what makes like a good working session, to have that kind of material, that kind of quality podcast playing in the background. So you guys are doing a good job on that.
Well, thank you. And you just said one thing that I think is important. I like the podcast because it's in the background.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, everybody's told us, man, video audit modeling's visual, and I get that, but I mean, you could drown in the number of YouTube videos out there, right?
My problem, and I'm sure this is not specific to me, is that when at Netflix or YouTube, so it doesn't matter what type of show. It doesn't matter if it's a modeling thing. I will stop and watch it, right?
Exactly.
More than I want, and then 2 hours will pass, and I'll have done maybe one kind of operation, like paint a part, But I find listening to the podcast, like especially the On the Bench guys, and now you guys, it doesn't. I don't stop to watch the TV, right? And a lot of times I'm tired, like prior to the pandemic, right? I'm coming down here to get my hour at the end of a long day, after the kids are in bed, after working and all that. Like I'm not like full of pep like usual, so it's really easy to kind of just be like, oh, that's fun, And so the podcast, and then you're talking about model leagues, and you're hearing about other people's their challenges, their tips, and then it just builds the mojo, if you will, right? About, okay, I'm going to get this done today. I've got 2 things I really want to hit before tomorrow. So I'm really enjoying that. And I mean, there's something to be said for good video content.
Absolutely. Yeah. But you need to be able to watch it and not do anything else.
Yeah. Like when I'm trying to figure out a very specific thing I don't know how to do, or like a technique, and like, I know people are doing this, I need to know how, and somebody puts that out there, it's just a shedding light on the whole mystery, right? So it's really cool that that's there. And, I didn't have any of that when I was a kid, for sure. So it was like there was a long time where I wasn't really doing anything.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's interesting. So let's switch gears. Let's do the shop rundown.
Okay.
I know it's going to be a trick. because we're both tethered here, but can you kind of give us a little bit of a tour or a little outline? Can you swivel around and show us kind of how you have things set up? There you are. That's your main screen.
That's my main screen.
Is it a laptop or
Yes, unfortunately. Well, I guess it's.
I just have a laptop too. Okay. Well, give us your bench rundown.
Kind of neat. It's gonna get heavy. I'm gonna set this down, but I'll give you a verbal rundown.
Sure.
In the background.
Oh man, you guys have like podcasts set up there.
I know, it's my microphone. Well, I'm using it right now.
Yes. Yep.
Start off my bench. My bench was made by my grandfather about.
Oh, that's cool.
2020 now. It's probably 30 years old at this point.
That's kind of neat.
And it's moved everywhere I've moved, obviously, because I've got it with me. But anyways, it's got a pegboard in the back and a bulletin board area and a shelf above it, and I can just put a lot of my tools back there.
Mm-hmm.
And with the pegboard rings and things to hang all that up on, put all sanding supplies and stuff like that. I've got a lot of space, but not for a laptop to sit, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'd like to do one of those. Like I've seen these mounts where it's like basically a hinged arm, and then it has like an adapter or platform, so you can sort of scoot it up, and then you can also change the orientation. And sometime I've been thinking about my shop a lot lately too. Right on. So where do you do your painting?
On the entire other side of the room.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do that. Excuse the mess. See it back there?
Oh, okay, I see it. Yep. So you got a vent going out, and yep, you got a little booth. Is it a metal booth or a cardboard booth?
It's a metal booth. It's the company now is Pace.
Yes, I love Pace.
Before he came along, there was a company called North Coast Hobbies.
Okay.
And I married a chemical engineer.
I see where this is going.
So the painting in the house was not that I wanted to do it anyway.
No.
It was the easy sell to get a good one.
Nice.
Yeah, it's probably 25 years old now.
Yeah, but those things, that Pace industry, the guy's name is Bob, right?
I think
Bob
so.
Pace? Yeah. If I recall correctly. Oh man, those things are so well built. He had one called the Peacemaker.
Yeah. That's the one Dave has, I think.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was like $500 US, but so it was the largest bay. I think it was like 30
3 feet. Yeah,
3 feet.
Almost 3 feet long, yeah.
And it has a lighting thing. Yeah, and it had the motor. Yeah, the power strip on it. Had the motor was like the highest CFM model. It was it was amazing. So I don't know if I'm not sure if I've told this story or not, but I got a Pace. I got the lowest Pace available at Wonderfest back in like 2006 when I went there for the first time, and I had it was like the end of the weekend, and I'd already found a bunch of goodies and treasures, spent all my money. I was a student. I had no money to begin with. I was like really kind of traveling on a budget kind of thing. And then I found this guy. He had a booth set up in the vendors hall at Wonderfest. And I was just like, whoa, like I was really very excited about airbrushing, something I really wanted to get into more. I've been already doing it, but I wanted to get more serious setup, right? And so I looked at them and I saw all these amazing models that he had available. Like he has kind of that Peacemaker. And I loved it. He told me a story about his wife getting all upset at him and that he developed this one to be like quiet and like get all the stink out because the stink was driving his wife mad, and then she was coming down on him. And I thought, this is just amazing. But I didn't have any cash left, so I think he had this one. It was basically a cardboard box with the filter in it, and then it had the same motor as like the next metal box, so it had a good pull. But Yeah, which really makes a big difference, I think. But man, now that I'm really modeling so much more and painting so much more, I'd like to get the Peacemaker.
I would like it too. Mine's not worn out yet, so until I have a reason to replace mine,
Yeah.
it's going to be. But it's big enough. And
Yeah.
Right now it's straight piped up through a panel I made to fit in an egress window that goes.
Yes.
Out to the patio.
Yep. I did the same thing.
Yeah. To that corner where it is, though, I've got some wall space that eventually I'm going to have like 12 feet of standing height cabinet bench top space back there.
Yeah.
And I plan on putting the booth in the corner and making a permanent connection to the outside and not have to use the egress window.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not impossible. Certainly, I remember putting in a dryer vent on doing a 4-inch hole through this like the cinder block wall to add a dryer vent with a core drill. So that was something that wasn't too easy to do. And then you can make a permanent kind of outlet, seal it. But I have mine through the window. This is like I'm in a basement bedroom that I would luckily was not earmarked for anything and made the perfect shop. So, and I have a lot of plans for this one too. But you can see the window behind me, and then I built a little sort of plate where it's all connected through to kind of vent out. And that's why it gets cold down here, because it seals up, and I put some insulation on it, but it's not really airtight. So it's not as airtight as I'd like it. So sometimes it gets a little bit chilly, but luckily I have a little space heater.
This current shop, it's still a semi-finished basement. And
yeah.
I got old bookcases we don't use. That's got all my stuff in it.
Yeah.
And we moved to this house. It's been 10 years now, but when we got here is when the kids started school, and then
you're busy
and hadn't had time in almost 10 years now to renovate it. But the old shop, that was the house I bought as a bachelor, and then when I got married, my wife moved in, and we started the family in that house. But it had a completely unfinished basement when I bought it.
Oh yeah.
And I had a dedicated corner down there that I completely finished. I had like three 4-bulb fluorescent light fixtures in it in the ceiling.
Nice.
All this white beadboard paneling. It looked like a laboratory. I mean, it was so bright in there.
Oh yeah.
Reflecting off every wall.
Yes.
The air booth was in there in the corner. I had my big standing height, like 12 running feet of cabinets, top and bottom.
Nice.
With all my stuff in it, and this bench and a computer desk, and it was just fabulous. But I just haven't got back to that.
Yeah. It's a lot of work, right? Like you really have to stop while you're modeling.
Do it all yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I saw that house for sale again, and on the realtor's photographs, you could tell they weren't using that room for anything.
It's just storage stuff stored in
Not
their
even
boxes.
that. It's like there's an empty floor space where my bench used to be.
Oh yeah.
And these cabinets with nothing on them.
Oh wow.
Like,
yeah, people would
there buy the cabinets back from them and just take them out.
Yeah. Well, maybe you know what? It's one of those questions, right? You got to build something custom for the space you're in. And instead of trying to shoehorn stuff in. But you know what, that brings me to the next point. Light that's my big challenge, and I know a lot of people struggle with like lighting your space properly, seeing the paint, just seeing anything in general.
Right.
So I see you got nice white walls, and we're always in basements, it seems like, very commonly, like the average model builders.
North America, yeah.
It's tough, eh? I have like it's the old 70s paneling, you can see, and there was no light in here when I got in here, and I have plans to do the whole basement level plus this room over again, just to make it a bit more shop functional and less makeshift bedroom, right? But I mean, I gotta say I'm very lucky. This is an amazing space. There's space
to spread out.
Yeah, I got room to spread out. I got an extra chair in here where Stuart comes when we do our thing. Here's my stash closet. So it's like literally a closet. But so I'd like to, take out the walls and just make it more of a shelving unit. But that's it. And then at the base, I have some materials. The bottom there, some materials to do like just pieces of wood and MDF that when I construct bases and stuff. And I have some other show when I'm vending, my kind of storage bins are there. And then I mean, there's a whole bunch of crap here because, you know, yeah, I'm pretty neat on that end, but I do a lot of the production for the super sanding blocks in here.
Okay.
I have another little workbench area in my mechanical room, and then I have another one out in my garage where I have a drill press set up. And so I kind of do different stages here and there. And plus, you know, this is where I fix stuff for the house and, you know, I got all my tools and stuff for work and whatnot. But so I have all those bins down there are basically all my finished models and kind of half started projects or projects that are just kind of like future projects, right? And then I have some other my reference books are behind those big giant boxes, which are I inherited these.
Oh yeah.
See, I have some of my, you know, reference books and magazines.
I can show you that.
Yeah, the same thing.
Lots of books. I like books.
Yeah, books are great. I love it. I mean, it's a fun part of the hobby. So these two bins are filled with picture frames that I inherited from my dad, and they actually make amazing. Certain ones make amazing, sort of the basic structure for a base, and they're also. We're still decorating the house and still using frames for that too. So I'm kind of cherry picking this, cherry picking that. But I don't have any kind of display case, and that's a future project, is to build an actual display case. Like on occasion I'll put something out. So that's kind of a weakness of this. And then on this side I have benches that I built. And you can see there's kind of like a squishy light box there.
Yep.
That Stuart brought over. Wondering, I need to up my like video production game. I think that's and picture taking. I've really no skill in that area, so I'm gonna try and make like a dedicated picture taking station, photo station with a light box.
Sympathize. I'm the same way.
Yeah, it's kind of a, you know, that's its own skill set, and I will admit I don't really have much on the go there, so that's something I'd like to get into, so you can show people what you're working on, and maybe also if we're going to do, you know, we seem to be doing a bit more product reviews and stuff like that, you want to be able to show people. So something for the future. And then I have like down below I have organized all my stuff into bins, like electronics, bits and bobs. I have one shelf that's just all figure kits, so if I need to find a figure, I've got various stuff in there, and one of them is all scenery material. And then I got my airbrush set up down there. There's a compressor below, and then up top is like a regulator and filter and all that stuff. Oh yeah, there's a paint supply shelf.
Paint supply and all the thinners and weathering products and all that's just to my right. My bench.
Right on, yeah. Awesome. It's fun, eh? And then I ended up building a paint rack kind of on the wall. And I have all my main paints. And I love seeing them. I find it really interesting when I'm kind of trying to figure out what the colors are going to be, it's nice to see them and just kind of be able to pull them off and kind of compare them quickly. And then I got a shelf queen right there. I am a real modeler. There is a shelf queen in that box. Just calling out my name, 99% done, perhaps 99.2%. And then my main I got a toolbox over here, and then some other storage in the corner, and then kind of here we're back at the main bench. So I got to say I'm really lucky. I'd like to redo the light. I want to do one of I saw there's a fellow that does a lot of resin casting in Florida. Oh, I forget the name of his company, but he had these awesome. It was like a light arc that goes over the bench here.
Yeah, Dave was talking about this.
Yeah, and he kind of was saying the same thing. I'm like tired of this crappy light. This is the solution. It's amazing. It's changed my life. And I think the walls should be white, or like a lighter color, so they're not so absorbative. Right. But that's there's always future plans.
Right.
And of course I have no
shop.
Yeah, I can always improve and thinking about workflow. And so what do you think, what are your future plans for your area?
To move it all to the other side of the room where I can have the long standing height bench case and cabinets to do a lot of work. I like to do standing.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And the bench at the end of it, like kind of like in my old shop.
Yeah. That's a good way to have it, standing, because you
what I like about the area where I want to put the cabinets, you can't even see it, even if I turn the camera right now because of a standing metal shelf. But there's a duct line that comes off the trunk line down the middle of the house for the HVAC that is right along that wall, which creates a soffit that, once the bench is there, leaves about 3 feet of vertical space above it. So I'm going to be able to put a lot of like new LED lighting under that soffit.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Be fairly low versus the ceiling height of the room.
Yep.
So it's going to be really, really well lit without a whole lot of effort.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And that stuff's really coming a long way. LED lights and in terms of pricing and to be able to install it. Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds great. So let's talk about. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say with the cabinets, I'm going to get rid of all these old bookcases that we've just toted around from our single days and
yeah,
all the crappy big box store, prefab kind of bookcases. And
yeah, we all have those, don't we?
Yeah,
I mean, they're fine for books. But they're not, it's weird. We're trying to shoehorn like a different use into something. It always kind of, it's not inspiring. It's not an inspiring environment to be in, right? You like what you're saying about your old shop setup and it looked like a lab. Well, that's the kind of place you want to, you want to make those, you want to work in a space that inspires you to, to want to get down there and get on your project, and you have the space. But we all have to work with what we got, right? So it's one of those challenges.
The only thing I have to share this space with right now is my youngest drum set.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. No kidding, eh? Well, he doesn't need much.
No, and he's not down here on it very often, so.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah, I keep him into a corner. Yeah. Yeah, right on. That's awesome. So let's talk about your ongoing projects. So on the podcast, you've been working on this little field piece.
Yes.
And it's looking great. You did little brass, the sight rings. I don't know what the proper terminology is.
Well, there's two. I've got the little 76 scale Airfix.
Okay.
Gun, which got the little sight rings on it.
Yes. I remember you're working on there. You've got the brass.
Up. It's tiny.
Yeah, but
that one has the sights on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now there's going to be pictures on your site, right? PlasticMojoModel.com. Is that correct?
There's pictures on our Facebook page.
Ah, okay.
The host we're using for the podcast right now doesn't allow me much.
Okay.
And we don't have I've got a URL for the site, but it's kind of a canned.
Yeah.
A canned system. You guys are using WordPress, it looks like.
Yes.
Allows a lot more.
It seems to be. Yeah, it seems to be pretty functional. And to be honest, Stuart really handles a lot of that stuff, and he's been doing a great job. And we are trying to get more content. We're trying to do more photos, more pictures, more videos. So, but yeah, okay. Just if anyone wants to see, for our listeners or viewers who are tuning into this, if you want to see more details, it's very impressive. Check out.
Yeah, Plastic Model Mojo on our Facebook page, and yeah, just come follow us there because Dave and I are both putting up a lot of stuff, and now some of the listeners are sending us pictures too, so I got to start a new gallery hopefully this weekend for some of the stuff some of our listeners have sent us. But there's two guns I'm working on. That's the
Bofors.
Yeah, it's an old Airfix kit.
Rough.
The little sight rings was just kind of trying to get back to the type of modeling I used to do. It's stretched sprue from the kit.
Oh, is it? Oh, I thought they were brass or wire.
They're completely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How did you make the rings out of stretched sprue then?
Well, I want to do a video, but I'll describe it here.
Yeah. I have a guess.
I stretched the sprue, and that's the whole topic in itself, right?
Yep.
It's kind of a voodoo a little bit.
Yep.
And once I get a diameter I'm happy with, and enough of it consistent,
Yep.
I'll take a mandrel, to wind it around. And
okay, I thought so.
I will glue. This is the mandrel, and this is the sprue. I'll glue it, the end of it, perpendicular with super glue.
Okay.
And let that get good and dry. Then I'll wind it. Like to make those sights, I use the end of a needle file.
Okay, that was the right diameter you needed to make the scale piece.
I want to wind it as tight with each ring touching the other, as compact as you can get it. And then on the last, make way more than you're going to need.
Yep.
And tack the end of it again with super glue at the other end.
Yep.
And I go up to the kitchen and I put the teapot on. And boil the water, and then come over the sink and just dump it over the file handle.
That helps it take that shape, right?
It'll take that shape permanently at that point. So then you
amazing.
Come back and you cut it where it was super glued and slide it off, and you got this little spring. You slip a knife up in it and cut it, and all these rings will fall out.
Yeah.
Boom, and they're all the same diameter.
And you just glue the end together of one of the whatever. You had two. There's 2 sights on that, so you've made a bunch of rings. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really cool stuff. Satisfying, right?
Very satisfying. Is very tiny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, models is all about that delicate scale look, and it doesn't really matter if it's a real subject or like a science fiction subject. It's got to be. It just has to look in scale with whatever, right? And then there's all these visual cues that tell you this thing is, huge or it's really small, whatever. So it looked great. I thought it was awesome. Now that Bofors, was that like to be on the back of a truck or something, or?
It comes with a gun and it comes with a truck.
Okay, because I know the Bofors were like they mounted them on tanks, they put them on everywhere, right?
So I've got
trucks, yeah.
There's the truck.
Oh, okay, yeah, there's a truck. Okay, nice.
Not very big either.
How are you finding this Airfix kit? Because this looks like this is like a 70s, 80s Airfix kit, correct? At 76 scale? Rough.
It's rough, but of that series of military models they made in that scale, it's probably the best one. It's one of the last ones they released in the 70s.
Okay.
So kind of stopped doing them.
So they were perfect. They're at least getting better at their game at that point, probably in their techniques.
Now, if there's a lot. It doesn't have any window glass, so I've got to fix that. The detail's soft, but it's really a really simplified representation of the truck and gun. So I didn't want to go too crazy on it. I just wanted to kind of build it for fun. But
famous last words. Yes. So are you going crazy on it or what?
No. The sight rings are all I'm going to do to it.
Because you're on the path there.
Yeah, I know. I got plenty of that though. Plenty of that on other projects.
Yep.
But
good for you if you can do it. I've never been able to do it out of the box. It's like a mystical unicorn. You keep chasing, and then I end up just the 9 yards seems to be the way, the longest yard.
So.
And what was the other? You have another gun. It was like an artillery piece, right? Was that correct?
That's correct. And this one's in 35th scale. It's
Yes. Okay. And you were showing me this before, the shield.
Yeah. And I tried to break this one last week, but we're all recovered now.
Yeah.
And it's a mini art kit. Now it's not out of the box either by any stretch of the imagination, but the kit itself is pretty good. It's just very delicate and fiddly.
Yep.
A lot of small parts, a lot of thin parts.
Yeah. Right on.
And I mentioned in the podcast that one thing about it that I didn't like, a lot of the parts that are like 4 millimeters in diameter or bigger are all molded in 2 halves.
Why? Yeah.
So like the split trail.
Yes.
For the gun, each arm
was a half.
Top and bottom or right and left. I can't remember at this point.
It doesn't matter. It's ugly either way. Why are they doing that to us?
So,
why?
Lots of seam filling, but
yeah.
I'm about ready to put a satin coat on that one to start some more of the
Nice.
oil paint rendering or weathering, like your guest Mike Rinaldi likes to talk about.
Yeah. That's the fun stuff, right?
That's the fun stuff. So
yeah.
I'm just
that's awesome.
It's so fiddly though. I'm afraid there's there'll be another mishap before it's over with.
I mean, well, you're on the home stretch now, right? Like you're doing it's a green, like an OD green scheme. Like exactly. It's not a huge thing, so hopefully you can have fun with the the final stage of that project. So
I'm trying to pick something new. Get to that point.
Yeah. Are you okay? So you have these two. Is that all you have on the go? Are you like a multi-project guy, or are you disciplined to have just your two on the go?
Well, two for me right now is twice as many as I used to have going at any one time. That's a quantum leap.
Yeah, for sure.
I think your production. I think in this rebirth of my hobby in the last year here, I think I'm going to be able to do more than one
at a time.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. and Dave, my co-host, he was griping about this too, that all my projects are in paint. They're all paint phase right now. I'm not putting parts together anywhere.
Yeah.
And you kind of start to miss it.
Oh yeah, there's a certain like Zen relaxation to just putting stuff together. It's not like that critical. You're not reinventing, things to do for yourself. But isn't it? There's a lot of different stages that can take a long time. So I can see why it's nice to have different things on the go at different stages.
So I'm along that line. I'm gonna probably start something here next week. I think something new.
Yeah. I've been for the past 10 years that I've sort of come been approaching it fairly seriously. I've been really trying to stick to one project at a time because I definitely get I don't want to say flustered, but I get overwhelmed very easily.
I used to be, yeah.
And then the problem is that, and what I've noticed in my own behavior or my own patterns is that, so I would be doing something, and invariably I get to something that was like, okay, I don't know how to overcome it. It's either I've broken something, damaged something sort of significantly, or I want to do something that I've never done before. And it's like, okay, well, how is this done? And I have no idea. And it's something that it's really easy to be like, okay, let's push it away. And, forget about it. I'll start something else. But then in that project, you come to, oh, well, I've never done that. How I do it? Or, oh, crap, I did something. I need to
wait
undo.
Till I'll know how.
Yeah. So, but that thinking ends up with, that has resulted in me not having any, getting the stuff done. Right. So I have got a whole bunch of things on the go right now. And I'm trying to not be as hard on my own self and kind of let them happen. And so I've been doing TV time or movie time. I've got a kit where I'm just I got a little toolbox of I doubled up all my main tools, and I'm working on the trumpeter. Type 89, just assembling it. So I was working on the arms and the wheels. It's like an 80s. Oh, I think they're still current. It's Japanese. Infantry fighting vehicle, and so I'm just assembling it. I'm gonna try and stick to kind of more or less out of the box, and the kit looks pretty good. And then down here I'm working on the 72nd Quaidlin Rao from Moscato, and that's been fairly in depth because I'm doing the lighting, and now I'm doing I'm getting to the paint and the finish and all that stuff, and
looking good.
Yeah, thank you. And so I've just spent a day or two. Why use the decals? Why not cut my own masks? Right? Never done that. And it's gonna look I think it's gonna look really good because I can blend the paint and but that's really hard. And I've never done it before. Yeah. And I remember years ago somebody mentioning you use the decals and cut your own mask, and I'm just in my mind how does that work? I couldn't see it. And it's okay, yes.
You're doing it.
Yeah, now so I found some drafting, some vellum, from my drafting projects, and then use that to trace it out, and then take the vellum and put it on Tamiya tape, and then cut it out really well. So yeah, it's fun. But then you take a flat object and these markings on this curved surface, right? It didn't fit at all, so I had to kind of slice the mask and then kind of bend it and then add in just the missing, the elongated sections. But that's a whole evening right there. It's kind of nuts, eh? So I'm definitely trying to stay. Don't get into other painting anything else. Just keep this stuff here.
Going, yeah.
Push through. Those bumps.
With my two now in paint, I think we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start something, but in the past, that was a recipe for not getting anything done.
Yes, that's what I found. So, and then, and that shelf queen I was referencing earlier, is my it's the from Bosnia era. It's a Malaysian M113 variant. It was the old Academy kit, and it's sort of like it's not a full. There's terminology. It's like a small conversion. It's not like a huge conversion. If you guys remember that, it was called the Kiffy kit, and it's really a Korean. It was like a Korean version of the M113 that Academy made. Academy being a Korean company, right? So what they had was the chassis of the M113, like from the US, and then they put their own motor in it and then made like 20 variations, right? For everything, ambulance, mortar carrier, CNC. And so they had this Daewoo motor, but then they were exporting them. And then they were so Malaysia was one of the customers. And then during the Bosnian, the UN peacekeeping operations, they had their own variant, their own slightly different version of the Korean one. So you can see how many. It's taken me a long time to move, it's taken me a long time to peel back the onions on this, because the box, when you buy the Kiffy, they've got the UN colors on it, which is actually the Malaysian one. Okay. But the kit is actually really set up for like the actual like operational like military version, and then they give you some decals for both. But I just saw this like white tank and I thought that's fantastic.
So what's the roadblock?
Oh, figure painting.
Figures? Okay.
Never done it. Never done any figure painting, and so I love adding figures. Well, I've never done 35th scale figures like fully. And so it was on my list to do. I always enjoy putting figures because I find that really gives my model a sense of scale. You can really see because everybody knows what a figure, like what a person looks like, right? So you get to see like that's a large robot, that's a small robot, that's a big tank, whatever. And so I came up with this little, I guess it's now becoming a diorama, but I got a couple figures like of the crew, and I found a kit. Academy did put out like a Korean tank crew kit at that time, so it's like the perfect kind of accompaniment for this thing, right? So I've been trying to figure out painting flesh, and like so I did start them, and I wanted to oil paint them. I've got an oil paint set, and I added stuff like the microphone in the gear, and it's just one of those things, like, I don't really know how to proceed, right? So it's like now you're doing research and you're asking people, and it's like, well, there's some really good looking figures. Like, how do you get
it? Painting is a hurdle in itself if you're
It is, yeah.
To learn it. I'm not good at it either.
It's fun, but there's there's knowledge, right? And it's like you can't just invent it. You almost have to. I find it like I meet somebody who's done it, and okay, you got to back up. You got to be doing this, and sometimes it's hard to get that information right. It's easier now with YouTube and reaching out to people, and
some of those rock stars of the figure painting world. I mean, you look at their work and I get like, that guy, he blinked. I know that guy blinked.
Yeah,
this little 35th scale guy, and you can see the fillings in his teeth.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, right? So I got, that's exactly one of those things. I got to something hard and I kind of stopped, even though it's like mostly done. And I ended up moving on to the Aliens APC, which I did finish.
You finished that. So
in 6 months, that was a world record for me. And then I ended up like, again, I got this thing sitting on the couch. I'm doing this thing for John. I've got another one for John that we're doing a video series on. And then I did a Gundam in between that I just built up on the couch, right? Hanging out, just built it up, worked on that. It's not it's not messy. But then, I want to put some lights in it, so I got to wait on that and figure out that problem. So there you go. That's how you get into five things on the go. But I really want to get back to that Shelf Queen and just finish it. So, but I mean, you know what? I'm trying not to be too hard on myself. Stick with this one thing. And what are you going to pick next?
I'm looking at a tank, a Polish tank from the very beginning of World War II. It's 7TP is the designation, and the kit is an old kit from Poland. Came out in the early 90s. It's really, really terrible.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's gonna be like one of my old projects. But you know, I've got a lot of reference. I've kind of started thinking my way through the project. Was something I typically do. A lot before I even start. And it's kind
planning.
Kind of the front runner right now.
Yeah, right on. Well, what's number 2?
I don't have a number 2 just yet. Well, no, I do. I heard me mention. I've kind of taken a fancy to float planes on catapults.
Yes, that's right. What scale though?
72nd scale.
Okay.
Catapults get kind of big quick.
I was thinking you were going to say 144th scale.
No, that's too small.
Yeah.
So that's a funny story. He's probably passed away at this point, but a long time ago in our club in Louisville, there's an older gentleman in the club, and we got some smart asses in our club too, like every club, right?
Yeah.
And he brings in this collection of 1/144th scale aircraft. I mean, there's like 6 dozen of them.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
And one of our club characters asked him how many boxes of cereal he had to eat to get all those airplanes.
Oh boy.
Because the single engine ones are tiny. I mean, they're just tiny, and it's pretty funny. But this actually just came today. I've been.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
It's the Fujimi,
nice kit.
So of these catapults I'm considering, there's the German, the Kriegsmarine version of their catapult. But I found a project online I want to duplicate. It's the rear turret of the Scharnhorst battleship, because the catapult was mounted on the turret.
Oh wow!
And there's the kit from Model Collect. There was a sister ship to the Scharnhorst. It was the Gneisenau.
Mm-hmm.
And that ship was damaged, I think, in a British air raid in Norway while it was being refitted, and it was the entire ship was not salvageable at that point. So they took the turret and they made a land-based fort out of it.
Okay. Yep. Yes. Yeah.
It's still in Norway. I mean, how do you get rid of a huge
it's just a monument now, right?
Tourist attraction. But Model Collect makes that fort turret in 72nd scale.
Okay. How different is it from when it was mounted on a ship?
There's some things you have to add back to it, like the rangefinder buds on the side of the turret.
Okay.
And some ladders and grab irons. So not a lot.
Yeah. So like fun stuff, fun details.
Fun stuff. And that catapult is not that difficult. And I've got scale drawings for it. I actually have CAD drawings for it.
Oh, wow. Perfect.
So I can go to town on that one if I want. I got some scale drawings from another modeler in New Zealand for the Royal Navy version of their catapult.
Mm-hmm.
No kit in 72nd scale. It's a really complex, crazy. That's not going to be the one I pick.
Like that'd be a full scratch build, like
pretty much.
Making a structure.
Somebody does it in the meantime. I've got a U.S. Navy one that I just got about a week ago from White Ensign Models, and it's all photo etch.
Oh man,
the entire thing's photo etch. So.
Yeah.
This guy is all injection molded.
I think that's a good kit. Right? I bet you that's going to be a nice kit.
I think I'm going to start with that one.
Yeah, I think you'll be able to see the light of the light at the end of the tunnel on that, and well, that's really interesting. It's good. All the plans, It's fun to think about what you're going to be doing, and hopefully not get too sidetracked that you can't finish up the stuff you got on the go. And are you going to make bases for your field guns?
Yes.
Or no? Because
Are you for the Beauforts? Are you familiar with Plasmo on YouTube?
No, I haven't caught any of his stuff.
You need to check out his stuff. He's pretty crazy, but he builds a lot of small scale stuff, and he's got a lot of neat things he does with his bases. So the Beauforts, the Airfix kit's going to go on something like he does, but this Soviet gun, I've already got the foam cut for a little dugout.
Okay, cool.
Placement for the gun, but it's not very far along. It's kind of just rough shot. But yeah, I usually base everything.
Me too. Yeah, I like that. Again, gives it context and hopefully tells more of a story. Yeah, awesome.
And then from the pragmatic side, it helps it get not broken so easy.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It travels better and sits better, and I know exactly what you mean. Stores better if you have to. So wonderful. That's awesome. Well, I think we got about an hour though.
Okay.
Right there.
I
think that's a perfect spot to wrap it up. And again, thanks for Mike Baskette for meeting up with me, and we're just shop talking and nerding out a little bit about model stuff, and we hope I hope all the viewers or listeners are enjoying a little bit of this kind of stuff, and so want to wish you guys a good luck, you and David, at the Plastic Model Mojo, the new podcast that you can check out to help throw on during your modeling time. And of course, check out scalemodelpodcast.com for our regular episodes, and we're going to try and keep doing some extra content and that kind of thing for all you guys out there enjoying your modeling, and hope everyone stays safe and healthy to you, Mike. Right. And we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you, sir. You guys keep it up.
Thanks. Take care.